Alright, so our social studies notes for this week is going to be on the Native Americans of the Great Plains. We have talked about Native Americans of the Southwest. We have talked about Native Americans of the Northeast. And now we're going to focus on those in the Great Plains. The Great Plains region is generally this area here. And let's get into the tribes. If you haven't already done so, you can cut and paste onto your construction paper. You can pause the video, and when you're ready to go on, you could just click play. Alright, so for tribes, there's a lot that we can list here. We're not going to list them all, we're just going to fill in the blanks that we have. So, one of the tribes of the Great Plains is the Cheyenne. The Lakota, sometimes called the Sioux, S-I-O-U-X, and that's where our Dakotas, North and South Dakota, get their name, from the Lakota tribe. Alright, the Blackfoot tribe, and the Pawnee tribe. But again, there's a lot more that we could list there. When and where did they live? They lived in the Great Plains around the year 1300 and Great Plains. Alright, food. Alright, the tribes of the Great Plains were nomads, which meant they moved around constantly to search for food. They hunted with bows and arrows. Going off the page a little bit. And chased animals into traps. So the reason why these tribes were nomadic is because their food moved. And so when their food moved, the bison, for example, which is a type of animal, they would follow the bison as the bison moved. They used bison for food, clothing, and teepees. So like we saw in our video from earlier this week, every part of the bison was used for something. Some tribes did stay in one spot and lived in lodges, which had logs covered with grasses, sticks, and soil. But most of the tribes were nomadic, so they had teepees, which allowed them to quickly build their house and quickly take them down as they were following their food. In the 1700s, they tamed wild horses. One quick note about the horses that you may find interesting is before Christopher Columbus and the Spanish came over from Europe and settled in the Americas, there were no horses here at all in North America or in South America. So Europeans brought the horses over from Europe, and of course the horses then made their homes here, and some of those became wild, and those wild horses were tamed by these Great Plains Native Americans. Alright. Winter count was an illustrated calendar that showed the most important events of the year. Alright. Make sure your name is on this somewhere. If you have a really dark color and you can't write it off to the side like this, up here will be sufficient. All right. Turn those into the basket.